Ooh. My hands are burning. Ow, ow. So here it is. It looks a little bit different from the last time. You'll see I added this little stack here, crappily, just kind of clipped it and bolted it on there. This is a dryer vent, 4-inch dryer vent, steel dryer vent though. Tried aluminum because I had aluminum and it didn't go well. Also, this wiring here, I bought a thermocouple and I stuck it on the end of this wiring to this dealie. This is good for, I don't know how hot it goes. It was in my work truck, but it's the Type K thermocouple. Should be able to handle this. And I also made a couple changes on the inside. You might notice the color is different. That's because I covered all of this fire brick stuff with Satanite. If you've been around my channel a while, you'll know what it is. If not, hold tight, I'll explain it in a bit. This is a kiln shelf. I added a couple of different baffles so the air comes in and it can hit this and it kind of deflects, but this doesn't go all the way up to the top of the shelf. So there's like fire will be diverted over to hit this and diverted over to hit that, but a lot of it will go straight over. And I have another diverter, some of it will go straight over. So basically this trying to spread the flame around. So instead of the flame hitting the back and going straight up, it's kind of sticking around under there and percolating a bit and drifting up the back. Then it kind of holds in this area, then it has to descend to go up this hole. This little chimney here, this height, as the hot air comes out, it rises up, and that action pulls more air from inside here, which allows me to burn that a little bit hotter, and so on. So before I did the Satanite, I just did this little diversion thing, and then this, and I fired it up to temperature using that thermocouple over there to monitor things, and I got it up to 2200 degrees, at which point I got bored, gave up, and went inside. It was enough to fold a cone over, you know, one of those cone things. This one's not folded over. I can't find the one that folded over, but it was a cone 5 and it went all the way over. This time, I coated it with Satanite, running on the theory that Satanite supposedly is a bit insulating and also perhaps a little heat reflecting. Whoops. Kind of like that ITC 100 maybe. It's not as good as that, but there we go. I'm going to put this cone 6. This is a 6 cone. Ideally, I would have like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I would just line them all up. But I don't have any of those. Hottest got's a 6. So we're going to test this Satanite thing, and also a taller chimney. We're going to test that and base whether or not it works on temperature alone. I put the 6 cone in there just for funsies, but we're going to see if I can get it above 2200. Goal is 2300, maybe 2350. Kind of spilled some of the Satanite there. I also went back to the hardware store and they had restocked these, so I bought another one of those. Not black pipe. I would have liked black pipe, but they didn't have it. They had this galvanized stuff. So here we go. Gonna start it real slow. See, there it goes. Ever so slowly cranking up. I can of course crank it and go faster, but that's kind of not how kilns are supposed to work. So for the regular people who have heard about Satanite long ago from this channel, bear with me, I'm going to go over it a lot again. Satanite, when you order it, it comes in a bag. I will put a link to this in the description where I got it, if I remember. It looks like this, kind of a grayish powder. So what you do, you mix it with water until it's kind of sour cream consistency, and you smear it onto the fire brick. I didn't do that. I put in too much water. Whoops. And it was a little more like, not like sour cream, but like normal cream. And it worked fine. It's just a thinner coat. Smear it on the fire brick, and the best way I can explain how it goes on is like putting glaze on bisqueware. And I'm using that terminology because I'm assuming anybody new who's watching is into pottery, because it's got the word kiln in the title. Basically, the bricks are really porous. They suck up the water. The powdered Satanite sticks to the surface like a glaze on bisqueware, but it's not dry. You stick it on, let it dry, and then you kind of pulse the kiln a bit. You might have heard of candling. Just let it fully dry out. Then you got to crank her up and fire it in place. It's kind of like a ceramic material. I assume there's alumina in it and some other stuff, but it's nice. to prevent a bare flame from hitting the insulating fire brick and melting it. I believe the terminology is hot face. It's got other benefits too, like being flux resistant. So one interesting thing I've read about kiln construction is they seem to class everything in like insulating fire brick and heavy fire brick, but those aren't the same. Those aren't like two things. There's like 10 different things. There's a bunch of different temperatures of fire brick. I've played with a 2800 degree fire brick, which all the other stuff, the electric kiln that I made, the heat treat oven, and the foundry furnace are 2800 degree fire brick, and I assume this little kiln is the cheaper 23 or 2400 degree fire brick. They are very different. Both are soft enough to cut with a saw, but the 2800 degree stuff is a lot heavier. I assume it's denser, it's stronger, probably doesn't insulate as well. And when it comes to kiln construction, I have read that you cannot use insulating fire brick for kilns involving like soda firing, salt firing, or wood firing, because that has volatile fluxes in the air, like going through, and the fluxes will build up, they'll pile up on the walls of the insulating fire brick and melt them, and then down comes your kiln. So they use heavy fire brick, and it still fluxes them, but they're tougher. I think Satanite or other coatings like this are a great solution, and I've never once heard a single potter mention it. I don't think potters talk to blacksmiths and foundry workers and all of that. I think they're all making boxes that get really, really toasty with a fire in them, but they don't communicate with each other all that well. So give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a shot here. I mean, why not, right? Someone's gotta try it. And if someone else tried it and it failed, you think they would have mentioned it, but no one even mentioned it. I read a whole book on kiln building, not a single mention of refractory coatings for insulating fire brick. Not a one. Okay, so while I've been jabbering, we're up to 450 degrees and climbing steady. One thing I want you to see that flame is going like dead straight, and it's actually narrowing as it goes in. I think we have such a strong draft from this chimney that it's actually pulling the flame in at a faster rate. It's almost like when you see those like rocket engines and they fire a vacuum nozzle at sea level or something, or like a non-sea level nozzle, and the flames come out and then suck in. You know, it's kind of like that. I bet I'm just going to crank it a little more. I have an adjustable regulator here. How's that going? It's not as quiet now, but it's heating up faster. You know, I'll give it that. It's still basically like dead silent compared to the other furnace. And if you don't remember the other furnace, I might put up another clip. Yeah, look at that flame. Now that's what I call fire. Oh, and as a side note, since I haven't cleaned it up, that's the brush that I brushed on the Satanite. It's not exactly fancy. It's just the cheapo brush from the hardware store. And if you mix up too much of it and you leave the bucket sit all night, it looks really gross. I wonder what that brown junk is. Looks like root beer, only I bet it doesn't taste nearly as bad. So why would you want to use light fire brick, which are expensive, more expensive than the heavy fire brick, and Satanite, which costs money, instead of just using the heavy fire brick? Well, if you've ever watched people fire kilns with the big fire bricks, they're using a lot of fuel. And it takes a while, and sometimes they fire for days to get it up to temperature, and they have to struggle for those last few degrees. If it was an insulating fire brick furnace, they probably would have an easier time of it. Now, a lot of them want to fire longer, and you can, even if the furnace is more insulating, just don't throw a bunch more wood in there. And let's say you want a reducing atmosphere, which for you non-pottery people is called burning rich, you know, more fuel than oxygen, too much fuel, inefficient burn that way. You can dampen the chimney, just shut out some of the air. So you'll have the same kind of, the same atmosphere, air and fuel mixture, without needing to burn as much fuel for the same temperature. Or you can burn more fuel and get more temperature quicker. It's more controllable. Like, I don't see any downside here other than the light insulating fire brick is like double the cost of the heavy fire brick, and the heavier, higher temperature insulating fire bricks that I used are double that temperature, double that price. It's yeah. So I guess potters aren't made of money, and neither am I. But this kiln was free, and I had the box of Satanite powder already sitting over there for like 2 years. so I might as well use it, right? Right? The other thing is, I built this originally as a Raku kiln, and I used it, and here's some. It's ugly, but that's not the fault of the kiln, that's my fault. But pottery needs usually higher temperature. Raku is low fire like 1800. I heated this sucker up to 2200, which is like mid-fire, you know, bending over the number 5 cone. But I want like a number 10 cone, which is like high fire, 2300, 2350. You know, you can do lower temperature for longer time and get the same amount of heat work. But you know me, I just want it to be as hot as possible. So that's what I'm going for today. As a side note, it's also baking in that Satanite coating, because you got to fire it once up to like bright hot to set it in place. Now I mentioned the light insulating fire brick is good for like 2400. The heavier but still light insulating fire brick that I used before is good for 2800. Some of the heavy fire bricks are like good for 3000. Well, Satanite's good for 3200, so it's even hotter. I don't know how well it works as a heat reflector, but we shall see in the temperature gauge, which, by the way, how's it doing? Yep, I would say it's definitely hotter. That number has gone up, and it is continuing to increase. Just as an FYI, normal like kiln heating, like fast heating is like 300 degrees an hour. So we're going at like 1 degree a second. I don't know how many seconds are in an hour, but it's a lot. Probably going to be more vital when we get beyond this lousy triple digit temperatures and up to like 4-digit temperatures that start with a 2. Getting hotter. And how much hotter? Just about to cross 2000. Pretty close. I've been playing with the regulator, trying to make sure I keep kind of a neutral atmosphere, and it's having trouble focusing on that fire. Cool. Fire. You can do it. Yay! You can see the temperature rise is taking a lot longer now. So as it heats up, it's going to be losing more heat. So I'm kind of fighting a steeper uphill battle, but it is still climbing and relatively quickly, because those cone charts, they'll say like, you know, it's this if you're heating up at 150 degrees per hour, or it's this if you're heating up at 27 degrees per hour. Well, just that sentence, it heated up 7 degrees. So what's that per hour? Don't know. Okay, I had to wuss out and put this this deflector here, because that's starting to toast me a bit. And you know, I'm not too worried about me catching on fire, but like if this thing gets too hot and I do have a fire, then I'm not going to be able to grab it and put the fire out. Also, I forgot, when I ran it before, I had set that thing of ceramic wool on the top. So full warning, don't handle that stuff with your hands like idiot me, and always wear a respirator and all that yada yada. But I didn't, and I put it on there, and well, it seems to be working. I'm up to $21.99. This is about when I got bored and shut it off before. But it's still climbing. Like, it hasn't seemed to stall, which is great. I say, as it doesn't change temperature. I've been playing, there it goes. I've been playing with the knob on the regulator a bit to try to, you know, make it heat up a little faster. I'm more interested in peak temperature today. But it seems to be working. I mean, that's good. And I haven't even gone through a full tank, and this was the same tank I used like all the other times I ran this thing too. So, well, there's another degree. So I'll keep playing with it. Okay, sometime later. Haven't been keeping track. But it's $22.95. That's pretty quick. I found it kind of stalled at $22.60 or so, and I just kind of budged the burner a little closer to the opening there, and then it shot up like 20 degrees. So slight more adjustments, and I'm sure we will crack 2300. And like I said, I don't have a cone in there. I don't have any of that, but I did pull this up, which is a cone chart. So like, I'm probably up on this end, 27 degrees per hour. So basically sitting up, come back. So the temperature is basically sitting there, and if it sits there at 2284, that'll bend to cone 10. So, yeah, I think if it didn't bend to cone 10 by now, I could just chill here for like half an hour and it definitely would. Oh no, it's going back down. It's going back down. I'm gonna get the thing up to say 2300 and then I'm gonna quit. 2350 is gonna push it because running out of time. You know, I might be able to make 2350, but I gotta edit this video. I don't know why I put this camera down. It was like down 15 seconds and we're about to turn 2300, 2301. Hooray! I've noticed the temperature increase is non-linear. It'll go like shoot up and then it'll sit and drop maybe 1 or 2 and then it'll shoot up and drop in a little bit. Maybe that's why people say kilns have a pulse. I don't know. 2300, let's see what that is in wrong degrees. 1261. 1261. That's pretty toasty. That's pretty toasty if I do say so myself. Just look at how toasty that is. Let me get these bricks out of the way. Pretty toasty. I've also occasionally been looking down the pipe. You can see some flames going up the pipe. Here, I'm gonna crank it. Fire, cool. Like you can see the flames coming up and out the top. That's a good sign that it's inefficient. There's too much fire. Running rich, or a reduction atmosphere, it's called. Ooh. My hands are burning. Ow, ow. And of course, doing that, I lost 5 degrees. I'm gonna turn the regulator back down a little. Let's see if it'll give us a surge. 7, 8, 9, 2300. See what I mean? 2301, 2, 3, 4. So it'll like, if I put in a reduction, it'll drop. But if I put it back into like more of a neutral burn, then it just shoots up. So 2306, it's still climbing, geez. 7, 8. Okay, so yeah, mission accomplished. And I've only been out here like, I think it's been 2 hours since start to now, and it's over 2300, and I'm calling it, it's a success. 2309. 2309, it's still hot. That is hot enough. I can do cone 10 if I need to. And of course I'm gonna try. I mean, why wouldn't I? It's fire. It's fire. It's hot. 2311. Still climbing. Okay. Yep. Success. Mission accomplished. If I keep talking, I'm gonna hit like the temperature of the surface of the sun. I could ramble all night. Oh no, it's dropping. I gotta shut up.